Sometimes you look at a movie's cast and crew and you go, that sounds pretty good. And the actual result is less than the sum of its parts. Here are the nominees for Biggest Waste of Talent. Written, produced, and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Stars Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel. And what do you do with them? Make a nonsensical and stilted movie about how the plants are evil. The Happening. Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, Drew Barrymore, and the biggest waste, Tommy Lee Jones as a barely recognizable Two-Face. Batman Forever. Written, produced, and directed by George Lucas. Score by John Williams. Special effects done by ILM. Sound done by Ben Burt. Starring Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson, Frank Oz, and Terrence Stamp. And they pair that incredible talent with a very dry plot and awkward dialogue to work with. Not to mention, it's the introduction to the most famous space saga of all time. And it wastes all that time setting up not much. Not to mention, they introduce Darth Maul and barely give him anything to do. The Phantom Menace. Directed by John Carpenter, who also did the score. Stars Kurt Russell, Steve Buscemi, Peter Fonda, Cliff Robertson, Valeria Golino, Stacy Keach, Pam Grier? Question mark? And Bruce Campbell. In a cameo where he doesn't do jack shit.
And Jack left town.
Not to mention, it wastes a pretty interesting idea for an ending. Escape from LA. A 50-minute animated movie produced by NASA and the Taiwanese government that was barely released and barely educational, yet somehow has the most insane cast of all time, including, but not limited to, Chris Pine, Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson, Hayden Christensen, James Earl Jones, William Shatner, Mark Hamill, Casey Kasem, Jason Alexander, and Neil fucking Armstrong. Yes, that one. Among others. And the winner is no, actually, it's the Phantom Menace.
Quantum Quest, despite its absolutely just ridiculous cast, Phantom Menace just had so much going for it, and it squandered almost all of it.
And we're even saying this to people, we don't hate the Phantom Menace either. I mean, it's okay, but like, with that pedigree, it could have been so much more.
Exactly.
It's like supposed to set up everything. For fuck's sake. And
it does a little bit, but not nearly as much as it should
to
have.
The point where there's like some watch orders where they're like, oh yeah, you can like skip that one. They had like the best people in the business to make it. In like almost like every regard, and nope. Just what?
Yeah.
I will say though, it does have one of my favorite making of documentaries. That making of documentary is great.
I just love that I may have gone a bit too far in some places.
yeah.
I'm sure that was a big that was a big unexpected twist.
Yes.
Speaking of, spoiler warning, the nominees for Best Plot Twist are, although well known nowadays, the revelation that Darth Vader is Luke's father was an absolute shock when Empire Strikes Back first released.
Wait, what? I didn't know that. Damn.
Oh, I'm sorry for spoiling it. I should have waited for you to watch the movie.
I've only seen that movie like 20 times. How am I supposed to know? Like, but anyway.
Ra's al Ghul.
No, that's not true. That's impossible.
Ra's al Ghul appears to be the familiar Liam Neeson mentor character. However, his appearance as the film's big bad comes as a bit of a shock for people who don't know the comics well. This, of course, is from Batman Begins. Everyone could see Donovan being a villain from a mile away, but the leading lady? Elsa being a Nazi in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was certainly surprising. After hearing stories about how a replicant gave birth, Kay and the audience spent a good part of the movie thinking that he is this special child. When it turns out that he isn't special, it comes as a genuine surprise from Blade Runner 2049. The sudden shift from a semi-serious crime movie to a vampire slaughterhouse film is so jarring that it can shock you even if you know about it ahead of time. Fucking vampires. From dusk till dawn. For most of the movie, the audience is left in suspense as to why Dr. Kimball's wife was killed. The revelation that it was caused by a colleague as part of a conspiracy to push a drug to market feels like a clever way to tie the whole thing together. This is from
it's
The
not
Fugitive.
Just any drug. It's Provasic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's of course from The Fugitive, sorry.
And after multiple deadly bombings throughout New York City, it is a bit shocking that the terrorists didn't blow up a school too. From Die Hard with a Vengeance. And the winner is Darth Vader as Luke's father. I mean, that's just like the most well-known plot twist out there.
It's not even like to the point where it's not even a shocking twist, and the fact it won this wasn't a twist either. So. And it also it takes Darth Vader from he's a cool villain already, but then that adds a lot more depth to him, and a lot more to the story as well.
Enough depth that you could make 3 movies about it.
Yeah, I mean even more than that apparently. And then next is Best Poster, which this one is gonna be mostly a visual one here. Yeah. So the poster of Die Hard, for those who can't see it, there's a skyscraper, Bruce Willis, fire, you get the picture, right? Maybe they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And then Halloween, there's like a pumpkin with a knife.
It's pretty imposing.
Empire Strikes Back looks kind of like a 30s Flash Gordon serial. Or like Buck Rogers or something. Alien, you got the egg. It's it's a pretty simple, effective image. Makes you wonder what the hell is inside that thing. So Blade Runner, I mean, you just look at that one, it just screams cyberpunk. It's pretty good art work on it too. Mad Max, I mean, all you really need for that is a guy in a jacket and a motorcycle, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It also looks kind of like Rotor's poster. A little bit. I don't know if I'm the only one that's...
I imagine... when did Rotor come out, actually?
It came out later.
Yeah. I imagine they were trying to take from the Mad Max poster.
And yet, surprisingly, that movie feels more like Terminator or something. It doesn't really feel like Mad Max, but anyway, that movie's a piece of shit anyway. I remember the poster for Superman. It's pretty simple. It's the logo and the, and stuff. It's colorful, too. Gets the point across. And Escape from New York... The only problem with this poster is it's technically inaccurate to the movie, but I mean...
Yeah. It looks cool seeing the Statue of Liberty head.
and it gives off the kind of the vibe of the movie, kind of a comic booky vibe. And the winner of this category, which kind of surprised me actually, we went with Alien.
It's a very simple poster. It's the egg with a black background, the title, and then
It's opening up too.
Yeah, and it really sort of gets you like wondering.
It's the most
like,
intriguing
one
about?
Yeah,
Of these. Like, it just, you do just see that, and you want to know like what happens in this movie, like where this goes. The tagline probably helps as well. Which, speaking of
taglines, a good tagline can not only set up the movie but also get you excited for it. Here are the nominees for Best Tagline. You'll believe a man can fly, from Superman. In space, no one can hear you scream, from Alien. Breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane, from Escape from New York. Somewhere, in space, this could all be happening right now, from Star Wars. There can be only one, from Highlander. The night he came home, from Halloween. Trapped in time, surrounded by evil, low on gas, from Army of Darkness. And finally, whoever wins, we lose, from Alien vs. Predator. And the winner is Alien.
which maybe that one is a bit of a cheat, but that might actually be the most famous movie tagline of all time. Well, one of them, certainly. Whenever I think of like taglines, that's like, one of the first.
It's so iconic.
Like, it somehow it gets the point across, but it doesn't come across as like cliche either. So it's like, it's a horror movie and it's set in space. So
yeah, what more do you really need out of the tagline?
It's just the title of the movie is just Alien. So you're like, okay, there's gonna be an alien in it too. So it tells you like everything what the movie's about, but it doesn't give too much away either. So, and it doesn't sound stupid either, unlike our next category, which is the worst taglines. I did not write a description for this.
Here, real quick, let me...
Likewise, a bad tagline completely misrepresents the film, or could be a confusing mess. Here are the nominees for worst tagline. He was dead, but he got better. Crank. High voltage. I got better, though.
I got better.
Our future rests in his hands. Punisher Warzone. Nuclear power. In the best hands, it is dangerous. In the hands of Lex Luthor, it is pure evil. This is Superman's greatest battle, and it is for all of us. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. The audacity to call it Superman's greatest battle. Wow, Canon. Wow. We've sensed it. We've seen the signs. Now, it's happening. The happening. The man in the hat is back. And this time, he's bringing his dad. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Romulus Ledbetter lives on the edge. The view is incredible. The Caveman's Valentine. This Christmas, shop early. The streets won't be safe. Street Fighter, the movie. The footage is real. The proof is irrefutable. Alien Origin. And I didn't even bother to spell Alien Origin right there either.
That's fine. It doesn't need to be spelled right.
The winner is... Get away from the mic. Alien Origin.
This one was tough because these are just awful, but Alien Origins especially.
It's such bullshit on so many levels. The footage is real? Definitely not. It doesn't even look real. And then the fact they dared to say the proof is irrefutable.
What proof? We see an alien for like 2 seconds in the movie.
That's so arrogant of them to put that as the tagline for an asylum movie. I mean, come on. The proof is irrefutable. Not only that, they're like clearly trying to like ape off of the success of stuff like Blair Witch Project, you know, because it's a found footage movie basically. But it doesn't even work as a found footage movie. We'll talk about that movie more later because it comes up later. But yeah, that thing was just fucking hell. And they didn't even. That movie's so cheap, they didn't even bother to have music in it. Speaking of which, there, I'm setting it up for the next recording.
Yeah. I'm taking a note that I'll pick it up there. A good soundtrack or score to a film can help to perfect its mood. Here are the nominees for Best Score/Soundtrack. Blade Runner. Blade Runner's synthy soundtrack was perfect for its cyberpunk setting. Escape from New York. John Carpenter's excellent score for Escape from New York helps set the perfect dark and gritty mood. Halloween. Another hit from John Carpenter. The score for Halloween is both creepy and haunting. Highlander. The Highlander score is pretty good, but the Queen songs from the soundtrack really help it stand out.
I was actually just listening to Prince of the Universe right before we started recording, so...
Russian Treasure Island. Russian Treasure Island's use of strange synthy music helps to complement the overall weirdness of the film, and the musical PSAs aren't half bad themselves. First Blood. The score for First Blood captures Rambo's soldier background and loneliness very well. Batman, 1989. Batman's 1989 score is so iconic that its main theme is still considered to be the definitive Batman theme. Maximum Overdrive. It's AC/DC.
Yeah, it's just all AC/DC songs for that one.
And the winner is Halloween.
I actually almost forgot which one won this category because these are all really good.
Oh, they're all fantastic.
But we went with Halloween because, well, it is a very, very memorable, haunting score that fits the movie. And it's also just impressive that it was done on such a low budget movie too.
By the director of the film,
by the actual director, yes. And yet it's like such a well remembered music score, you know, and that it fits the movie perfectly. I don't think the movie would have had half the atmosphere it did if it didn't have that creepy score to it. And the sequels reuse the music from the first movie, so obviously, you know. But yeah, I mean, really, any of these could have, like, I was honestly rooting for, like, Blade Runner in this category, or, like, Batman, but Halloween was a good pick, I think. Really, almost, you can't really go wrong with any of these, actually.
Yeah.
But were any of these scores done by John Williams?
That's a good question. Were they?
No, which is why we gave him his own category, because yeah, you might have noticed none of John Williams' work made it into the previous list, even though he's, I believe, the composer who's appeared on our podcast the most times.
Yes. Because it was 11 Star Wars movies, 4 Indiana Jones movies, plus an extra cheating one, plus Superman.
Yeah. I think the only other one that came close is like Hans Zimmer or Jerry Goldsmith, but like all the other ones. Like, Yeah, John Williams has his own category because he's in a league of his own. Um, so here are the nominees for Best John Williams Score. Williams' Empire Strikes Back score is one of the most iconic in all of film history, introducing the Imperial March. It almost feels like Williams was trying to outdo his work on the originals with the Phantom Menace soundtrack, especially with Duel of the Fates. The Force Awakens is another great score by John Williams, with Rey's theme being the standout. Like Batman 1989, Superman the movie's score is so iconic that its main theme is considered to be the Superman theme. What, are you telling me Man of Steel isn't Superman's theme?
I mean, to be fair, Zimmer's soundtrack was the best part about that movie, but...
That and, like, Michael Shannon. Yeah, there's...
I will find him!
Where did you train? On a farm?
On a farm!
Okay. Is this one cheating? Yes. Yes, it is. Turkish Star Wars. The score for Raiders of the Lost Ark perfectly fits the serial vibe that the whole movie was going for, and Indy's theme is still one of the most well-known songs from the film. And the winner, and this was hard to decide, but we went with The Empire Strikes Back for that one. And
this one was,
that is probably the Star Wars score I've listened to the most, so that might be why I was a bit...
And it was the score that brought us the Imperial March, which is just one of the most well-known... Not even like songs within Star Wars, but just one of the most well-known themes of all time, really.
Yeah, when people think of like Star Wars tracks, usually the first like 3 people think of obviously the main theme.
Yep.
And then Imperial March would be another one, and Duel of the Fates as well. Those are like the 3 most people would think of. I also like Yoda's theme and the Cloud City music. There's a lot of really good tracks in that. The asteroid chase music, that's really good. You know, it's a really good score. Really, we could have picked any Star Wars movie actually for this, and I don't think anybody would have been that mad, you know. So.
Yeah, even just between the Star Wars films in this category, it's tough, because Phantom Menace has Duel of the Fates. Revenge of the Sith has Anakin versus Obi-Wan and The Rise of Lord Vader.
I feel like maybe we should have nominated Revenge of the Sith instead of Phantom Menace, but Phantom Menace is a good score as well. But yeah, it was a hard pick, basically. But yeah, we went with Empire Strikes Back. Is there anything else to say about that one?
I don't think so. I think we can both agree that John Williams' scores are very, very special.
Yes.
Speaking of special, great special effects can help immerse an audience within a movie's setting. Here are the nominees for Best Special Effects.
Yeah, that was a really, really good transition there, man.
Thank you, I tried.
I was like trying to figure out a way to segue, but I couldn't think of a good one. Sorry, you can keep going.
Yeah, here are the nominees for Best Special Effects. Blade Runner. Blade Runner's design and effects help solidify what most people think of when they hear the word cyberpunk. Return of the Jedi. Out of all the Star Wars films, Return of the Jedi special effects are among the most impressive. With the Jabba the Hutt puppet, the Rancor, the Ewoks, and the wonderful costumes and aliens, Return of the Jedi is certainly a feast for the eyes. Aliens. The one alien in Alien was impressive enough. Aliens has a whole colony of them, and an alien queen to boot. Mad Max Fury Road. The cars, crazy wastelanders, and massive dust storms make Fury Road a treat for the eyes. Superman. It's like the tagline says, you'll believe a man can fly. Dead Man's Chest. Evil octopus crab man Davy Jones was, and still is, one of the most impressive uses of CGI. Raiders of the Lost Ark. The face melting scene. I don't think we need to really say more about that one.
Just that whole scene is really, with like all the lights and stuff, like in the ghosts and shit, you know.
And finally, RoboCop. RoboCop is filled with impressive effects, from Robo himself to the acid kill.
And the Ed 209 looks pretty good as well.
Yeah. And the winner is The Return of the Jedi.
This was another hard one. I was rooting for Blade Runner actually, but like Return of the Jedi was my second choice because it does have some really impressive creature effects in it, especially Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, really Jabba, good. Like if you see any of the behind the scenes stuff, that Jabba puppet is so impressive.
That's an insanely huge puppet. Like, didn't it take like 7 people to
operate I think so. And it was like just super complex, like with the eyes, all the movements. I think they had a guy underneath it that was blowing smoke out of it, because you see Jabba smoking what looks like a hookah during the movie. It just took so much to get working.
Yeah, and the ship battles, I actually think that might have the best looking ship battles of the series.
There are some pretty good ones, especially like that end one on the second Death Star.
And the second Death Star looks really good too.
Oh yeah.
Admiral Akbar, you didn't mention Admiral Akbar.
Oh, that's right.
That's a really good design there. And the Rancor, like as a kid, the Rancor scared the hell out of me. And that effect actually still looks pretty good too.
Yeah.
Just a lot of crazy creature designs in that one. So, and the ships look pretty good, I don't know if it counts as like special effects, but the set design in that one's pretty good as well.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Especially the throne room and like Jabba's palace,
Yeah, and like that floating barge that they're on.
Really good matte paintings too. Yeah, there's a lot of really like. It's like whenever I look at like behind the scenes pictures of like the original Star Wars movies, it's just crazy realizing that like some of those are just models and like stuff that people had to like hand make them like by hand. It's insane. But again, like Blade Runner, I also thought was like a really good contender. That's a movie that still looks amazingly impressive, despite being like 40 years old, and just like the aesthetic of it, like the futuristic city and the cars and stuff, But I guess, Return of the Jedi does have more special effects in it and like a lot more like creative effects in it. So again, this is another one where really I think any of these could have won actually. But...
Yeah, no, there's a lot of impressive ones, like especially like Davy Jones and Dead Man's Chest. Just a phenomenal looking model.
It's impressive how well that CGI on Davy Jones holds up. Like, there's some shots where the Kraken looks a little dated, but Davy Jones still looks really good. Like, you can tell they put a lot of work into that. And aliens, like, the Alien Queen design is insane.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, not every movie is blessed with decent special effects. There are some special effects that are so bad they can rip you right out of a film and make you wonder, what did they spend the money on here? Here are the nominees for worst special effects. Can I prematurely announce what the winner is? I almost want to. I'm so tempted.
We have to keep the illusion up for at least a minute.
I'm so tempted to announce what the winner is already. Okay, Mortal Kombat Annihilation has some truly awful CGI throughout, including that terrible reptile model. Wait, was Reptile in That one?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought Reptile was in the
He
first one.
He's in this one as an actual, like, reptile, and it's like this awful, like, triangular polygonal. Let me see if I can find a photo of him real
God,
quick.
don't send me pictures of it. I'll just take your word for it. I don't want to look at that. That's how bad I think the effects in that movie are. I don't want to look at pictures of it. Basically, the video games looked better than this movie, which is sad. The original Superman made you believe a man can fly. 9 years later, Superman 4: The Quest for Peace reminds you that they can't. The movie's only special effect is its alien, and it's pretty bad. Alien Origin. Alien Convergence has some pretty atrocious CG right out of an early 2000s video game. I mean, to be fair, it wasn't an Asylum movie, but I've seen Asylum movies that look worse than that one.
Yeah, that is fair.
For as much fun as the kaiju fight was, every other effect in the film is atrocious. The head in the fish tank is especially awful. Crank, High Voltage. I forgot that ended up in this category, actually. I didn't realize how many nominations Crank High Voltage got. Damn. It's hard to think about what the worst thing about this film's special effects are. The fact that the monsters are just copy-pasted from a green screen, the weird demon cat thing, or the Confederate soldier monster. Army of Frankensteins. That's another one I forgot we nominated for this category. This film's terrible special effects are especially terrible. And then you wrote a note here of...
I barely remembered this movie. The big takeaway is that, once again, much like Mortal Kombat Annihilation and Superman 4, they look worse than the movies that came before it.
To be fair, with Deep Blue Sea 2, it cost less than the first one. But yeah, then again, the effects in the first one were kind of hit and miss. But all I really remember about the effects in Deep Blue Sea 2 is, like, there were these, like, little baby sharks and stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, anyway. You just straight up wrote, I don't remember enough about this movie to write it.
I gave up on that one, and I wasn't going to go back and watch Deep Blue Sea 2 again.
I don't blame you. You could have just listened to the podcast again. I mean, that's... If you can't remember what happened in the movie, just do that, because we basically talk about all the quote-unquote interesting things that happen in the movie. Alien Resurrection's awful swimming xenomorphs and Weird Ripley clones are especially disappointing considering what movies came before it. But yeah, that's not even mentioning how bad the ship looks in that movie. It looks so bad. And the winner is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Fuck that movie.
It's a bit astounding how terrible that one just looks.
And it cost more to make than the first movie did. Now, okay, the first one, the effects in that one don't really hold up, but they still look better than than Annihilation, which came out 2 years after it. It's just astounding to me that thing cost millions to make and has nothing to show for it. Even the green screen looks bad. Like, you could see, like, where it, like, cut, like, like, the corners on, like, the actors. You could see, like...
Yeah.
It's like, it looks like bad Photoshop or something.
It kind of makes you wonder, what did they spend the budget on?
Cocaine.
Because they didn't get the actor... Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
They probably spent it on cocaine. And, like, the creatures in it look so bad. Like, it just doesn't look like something that belongs in theaters, because at least with some of these other ones, you can make the excuse that at least they weren't supposed to be released in theaters. and they were just made
Yeah.
on like a low budget. This movie has no excuse to look this bad. It's just, what the hell? Like, what happened here? Like, just unfinished special effects. Like, you know, at least with
Yeah.
Superman 4, like, again, you can kind of just go, okay, they didn't have the money for it, like they did with the earlier ones.
Yeah.
But wow, I don't know if I've seen a movie that looked less like it belonged in theaters than Mortal Kombat Annihilation. That was like a big blockbuster type movie, at least. Like, wow. Just
Yeah.
wow. Like, it was probably. I made the joke earlier, they probably just spent all the money on cocaine. I honestly think that movie might have been like some kind of money embezzlement scheme. Or something. Like it was like some producers. Me. It was like a producers type scheme. Like, let's just make a purposely bad movie and then hope that it flops so we can make more money off of it that way. To the investors. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add, or
no? Not really for that one.
Okay, good. I don't want to talk about that movie more. I might.
I'm sure we'll talk about it.
We probably
in like
will.
5
Yeah,
minutes.
We probably will. Like, what the hell was that movie made by like robots or computers or AI or something?
Speaking of robots and computers and AI, even if they're technically a pile of parts and code, these robots / AI / computers are quite memorable. Here are the nominees for Best Computer, AI, or Robot. Roy Batty from Blade Runner. Blade Runner's antagonist, Roy Batty, I just said that twice. After his tearful speech, you wonder who the bad guy really is. Kay from Blade Runner 2049. He looks lonely. Why would you program a robot to feel lonely?
Oh, man.
R2-D2 from the Star Wars movies. It's amazing how sassy one robot can be without talking. Ash from Alien. Genuinely creepy and terrifying, Ash sets the standards for robots within the Alien films, games, and comics. Bishop from Aliens. At least he didn't try to murder Ripley with a magazine.
Not just a magazine, a porno magazine.
Oh, that's right. Finally, Max Headroom from Max Headroom 20 Minutes into the Future. The digitized mind of a serious journalist makes for a surprisingly entertaining TV host.
And a good spokesperson for New Coke.
Exactly. And the winner is Roy Batty from Blade Runner.
We need to stop giving the trophy to the first nominee. So I was starting to realize that happened.
Yeah, no, I was. Yeah, no, it happens a lot throughout this whole thing.
Oh my god. But Roy Batty, very well deserved, I think.
Yeah, definitely. He's got so much personality to him. There's just a whole emotional weight behind him, which you wouldn't expect coming from a robot, really.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting way to explore the nature of, like, humanity and, like, androids and stuff. Like, there's that great scene where he meets his maker, you know, Tyrell. And then the stuff with him and the other replicants, you know, interacting. I find it kind of funny that they just sort of act like kids.
Yeah.
But he's the most grown up of these kids. So he's just like, he likes waxing philosophical every now and again. They're just trying, you know, and he's just trying, the dude's just trying to survive, really.
Yeah.
He got handed a really bad deck of cards, and now he's just trying to make the most of it before he dies, and that's kind of a interesting way. And again, like we mentioned, if you look at the movie in a certain way, he's kind of the main protagonist.
Yeah, because it's really, if you kind of look at it that way, it's Deckard is hunting down this sentient life, trying to stamp it out almost.
Like, he definitely, you can sympathize with his motives, even if he does go about things in the wrong way. You know? But you can see why he's like that, you know, and it's... But, like, because, like, from the point of view of the replicants, Deckard's the bad guy. I mean, he's the one trying to hunt him down and kill him, you know. And pretty brutally, too. Like, he kills him pretty horribly.
Speaking of, killing horribly...
yeah, I guess. That does happen during a few of these. Well, yeah, a few of these.
Nothing but the smoothest transitions coming from
They don't get killed in all of these, but they definitely get maimed during some of these. There's something about the passion and choreography in a good sword fight that just feels great. Here are the nominees for Best Sword Fight. A double-sided lightsaber? Awesome. The choreography? Awesome. Duel of the Fates? Awesome. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace. Should be from the... whatever. On top of being a fun sword fight, Luke and Vader's climactic battle at the end of Empire Strikes Back shows off some cool force powers from Vader, and Luke learns a terrible family secret. Which, if I remember right, it's that Vader is his father's brother's uncle's cousin's nephew's former roommate. Is that right?
Yeah, well, what does that make them, then?
Absolutely nothing. Which is what he's about to become, but I might have misquoted Spaceballs right there, but Luke versus Vader from The Empire Strikes Back. The way the lightsabers look in the snow is just cool. Was that supposed to be a pun?
Potentially.
Okay, whatever. Ah, damn it. I was trying to think of a Mr. Freeze quote. Stay cool, bird boy. The Forest Duel from The Force Awakens. Which is between Rey and Kylo. And sort of Finn.
Finn and Rey versus Kylo, kind of.
Yeah, Finn does start off the battle, but he gets his ass kicked pretty quickly, from what I remember. Highlander's final duel between Connor and the Kurgan is tense, and finally seeing the Kurgan get beheaded, hey, spoilers, is incredibly satisfying. Then again, I mean, granted, you kind of know that he's gonna win.
Yeah.
The effects after Connor wins and gains the prize is a sight to behold. The final duel from Highlander. Maybe all a good sword fight needs is Liam Neeson. Yeah, we should do Rob Roy on the podcast, maybe.
Does he wield a sword in that?
That was a really good sword fight at the end. But yeah. That's from Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins. The three-way fight between Jack, Norrington, and Will is entertaining and energetic, especially as the three fight atop a spinning wheel. Oh, and if you're confused as to why they're fighting, a few characters recap the plot for you. The three-way fight from Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. And finally, the highlight of the movie, even if Skeletor's new costume looks a bit silly. He-Man vs. Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. And the winner is The Phantom Menace.
I actually just finished rewatching this the other day.
What, the fight or the
absolutely the whole movie, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
I absolutely love that final fight.
It's a really good fight, yeah. The choreography is really good. The music's just perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And I think part of why I like it, like, because another, we were considering also nominating the one for Revenge of the Sith for this category. I think I like this one more just because the environment's a little more, it looks more like practical, I guess. Like you can tell they used like there were blue screens, obviously, but like
yeah, it feels more like an environment that you would be able to film than something like Revenge of the Sith, which is a massive lava planet.
Which, granted, some of that there were some models in there, but it's just a lot of it is a lot of like. It looks very video gamey now, I think, in some ways, but like that fight I think is also really good. It does also go on a little bit too long, but what I like about also the Phantom Menace duel is it's 2 Jedi versus 1 Sith. That's something you don't usually get.
And there actually is a bit of some stakes that are involved because Qui-Gon does lose the battle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they killed off Liam Neeson, for fuck's sake. And I like the look of they're fighting in this like big place with like catwalks and energy generators and stuff. And also another thing I didn't think about until like not too long ago is this the first time in like centuries that a Jedi and a Sith have fought each other.
That's true, yeah.
Which makes that fight really interesting. Well, unless you count the one from, I guess there is that brief duel between Qui-Gon and Darth Maul earlier in the movie.
But this is like the first big fight that they have.
Yeah. That was like more of like a short clash, not like a long extended duel. You know. And he's got like a double-bladed lightsaber too. Like, you know, again, like Phantom Menace is not one of the better of Star Wars movies. It's my least favorite of the prequels, in fact, but that duel is definitely the highlight of it. Yeah, it's a really good
definitely
fight.
The highlight.
Is there anything else you want to add about it, or?
Not really. I'm just wondering if you have a segue into the next one, or if I should just.
Well, I do know that Leonard Maltin liked the Phantom Menace.
Oh, yep, there we go. And now we have an award reserved just for my mortal enemy, Leonard Maltin. For being the self-proclaimed king of movies, at least according to his board game, he sure has some baffling takes on them. Here are the nominees for the worst Leonard Maltin review.
At least for what we've covered on the podcast, because there's some other ones that are baffling too that I could find.
And most of these are how many stars he gave a film out of 4. Batman Forever, which he awarded 3 stars, and I have brought up constantly throughout the show. Blade Runner, which he gave 1.5 stars.
Apparently Batman Forever is twice as good of a movie as Blade Runner, according to him.
The Dark Knight, which he gave 2 stars. First Blood, which he gave 1.5 stars. Rise of Skywalker, which although he didn't give the movie a star rating, he said that he enjoyed it. And finally, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which he also gave 3 stars.
And I'd like to point out that makes that his second favorite Indiana Jones movie.
And the winner is his First Blood review, giving it 1.5 out of 4 stars.
Yeah, we went with that one because that was the one that shocked us the most when we first read them. Like,
because like Blade Runner, at least the theatrical version isn't the best version of the movie. So okay, that one has a bit of leeway on it.
There are people that find Blade Runner slow and stuff. So you know. But, like, First Blood, like, and that's also baffling because he gave Rambo First Blood Part 2 2 stars.
Yeah.
He gave Rambo 3 2.5 stars. So First Blood, he thought, was one of the lesser Rambo movies, apparently. And I thought it was the one that like was universally agreed upon to be the best Rambo movie, but apparently not.
And yeah, like you mentioned with Blade Runner, he says Batman Forever is twice as good as First Blood.
I have no idea what to make of that. He liked Rise of Skywalker more than First Blood.
Yeah, no, that is baffling to me.
And First Blood's like a well-made movie too. It's got like one of Stallone's best performances. You know, the supporting cast in that movie's pretty good. You know,
Yeah.
and what's weird is he criticized the movie for being unrealistic when it's the most grounded of the Rambo
of all
movies.
the Rambo movies.
Like, look at like the second and third ones. Those ones are
yeah, the third one where he rams a tank into a helicopter. Or the fifth one where he makes a bunch of Vietnam tunnels underneath his ranch to kill the cartel.
And then he also like I know he also criticized like that really sad scene where Rambo's talking about his friend that died in the war, and he was like saying like he couldn't in his review he said he couldn't understand what he was saying, you know, which I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, even if you can't understand what he's saying, I mean, the poor dude's like just
yeah,
like the acting's still really good in that scene. You know, I don't know, it's just I'm just shocked. Like, okay, if he gave it 2.5 stars, maybe I could. Okay, that's still a little too low, but like, I can at least sort of understand.
1.5. That's barely away from just being a bomb.
Yeah, that's a strangely low rating for a movie as well regarded as First Blood. What did he give like Rocky a bomb or something? I mean.
Actually, what did he give Rocky?
I would have to look it up, actually. I have a Google Doc with just a bunch of Leonard Maltin ratings. I'll have to look that one up. I think he liked Rocky, probably. I think most people like it.
Yeah,
at the very least, most people
like
the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave the first one 3.5 stars.
Okay, that's pretty good.
So yeah, but yeah, I just didn't know what to make of his review of First Blood. It just seemed like that's just, even if you're not a huge fan of that movie, that's too harsh.
That's really harsh.
I know, like, just what? Okay. I don't know how to segue into this next point.
Is there something interesting that you noticed about all of the movies on this list? They all have sequels and prequels.
A lot of them were sequels, that is right, yeah, and that our next category, it just happens to connect to that. Some sequels managed to be just as good, if not better, than what came before it. Here are the nominees for Best Prequel or Sequel. Evil Dead 2 manages to both be scary and hilarious at the same time, taking what worked with The Evil Dead and mixing it with Sam Raimi's love for slapstick humor. Transform Evil Dead 2 from just another horror sequel to a unique blend of comedy and horror. I'm surprised you didn't fit groovy into that.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what's missing there. Groovy. Into a groovy blend of comedy and horror.
Groovy, baby. Is that where the Austin Powers got that from? Anyway. Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, takes the interesting world that Mad Max was set in and expands upon it by adding in crazy leather-bound motorist gangs. Yes, it did. Empire Strikes Back takes everything the original film did well and makes it better. Awesome special effects, an awesome soundtrack, and great character moments throughout make Empire Strikes Back the best movie in the Star Wars series. I'm surprised you didn't mention Solo as the best Star Wars movie.
What are you talking about? It's clearly The Force Awakens.
This is The Force Awakens, yeah, yes. The most original plot of all time. It is the best Star Wars movie made by J.J. Abrams. I will give it that.
That is fair. That is very fair.
Granted, that's not saying much. 3 words. Heath Ledger's Joker. The Dark Knight. After First Blood Part 2, Rambo and Rambo 3 turned the series towards just over-the-top action. Rambo returns the series to a more serious tone that feels almost as impactful as the first movie. Rambo, the 2008 movie. Because that one gets a little bit confusing with the title.
With the weird titles, yeah.
Also, that movie, another movie that Leonard Maltin gave 1.5 stars to.
Yeah.
Despite releasing 35 years after the original, Blade Runner 2049 manages to tell an impactful story with stunning visuals. What's scarier than an alien? Aliens. Enough said. Aliens. Having the badass Indiana Jones go on an adventure with his scholarly dad Sean Connery is brilliant. Fun, energetic, and at times touching, Indiana Jones The Last Crusade is the best of the Indiana Jones sequels, and would have made a nice send-off for the characters in the series. And the winner is, of course, The Empire Strikes Back. I mean,
does
what
that
else?
really come as a surprise to, like, anyone?
No, I mean... That's, like, not only the best Star Wars movie, that's just one of the best, like, movies ever. I mean, come on. Whenever I try to rank my favorite movies, like, which is hard to do, like, this one always ends up, like, towards the top. I mean...
Yeah, and like we mentioned, this is, like, just by far the best movie in the Star Wars series.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people who vouch for the original movie. Hell, there's a smaller number of people that say Last Jedi. I'm not one of them, obviously. Because when Empire Strikes Back was, okay, the original film, it's a great, fun, like, sci-fi, tribute to, like, the old film serials, like Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon. But The Empire Strikes Back, it took that world and then expanded on it.
Yeah.
In a way that deepened the themes. It made the characters more compelling. Like, Darth Vader was already a pretty badass, cool villain, but then Empire Strikes Back, you get a lot more character depth for him.
Yeah, you learn a bit more about his past, especially with him revealing that he's Luke's father. But you also just get hints of it, like when you see him in that chamber with his helmet off from behind for, like, a few seconds. Just the character interactions, like, the writing is usually not something that's very good in Star Wars films, but it's surprisingly solid in this one.
I think what helped is they had Lawrence Kasdan writing it.
Yeah, definitely.
And also that it was directed by Irvin Kershner, who, you look at his resume, you wouldn't exactly expect him to make, like, a sci-fi or, like, a fantasy movie, but, like, he was really good at working with actors and getting really natural performances out of them. And all the cast members who were in that movie, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, they all said that he was their favorite director that they worked with because he was really good at working with the actors. And, like, it introduces, like, Yoda, who's one of my favorite characters of the series. And I just love all the great scenes with him and Luke. Like, that was something that could have very easily gone wrong, but you just, because of Mark Hamill's, like, performance and how he interacts with this puppet, you kind of just accept that it's this creature, that's actually alive. The effects, I think the effects look better. I also think the camera work was really good. That's probably the best looking out of, like, cinematography wise, out of all the Star Wars movies. One of them,
Plus
definitely.
The action scenes are also great. Like when they're taking down the walkers at the beginning of the movie, the fight at the end of the movie.
That scene with the AT-ATs, that might actually be my
Yeah.
favorite, like, battle scene of that entire series. It's really cool.
When they're in the asteroid field inside like the giant space worm.
That's really good. There's a lot of, like, that's one of those movies that I would not change a single thing about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just because there are movies that I love, but I can look at them and go, okay, that I would change. Like RoboCop, that's another one of my favorite movies, but that shot of Dick Jones falling,
Yeah, just with the really long arms.
I would have, I if I could do it, I would go back and change that. But like with Empire Strikes Back, like there's really nothing I would want to change about it.
Yeah.
Which I think is a testament to how good of a movie it is, And like the plot, again, the plot's really good, it's like just it's like one of those movies that I just don't have any serious problems with it. So,
Yeah. It also introduced Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, yeah, like he's a character who he doesn't even do that much, and you want to know more about him just because of his cool design and stuff, and like the way he interacts with Vader. Or really just all the bounty hunters. All the bounty hunters have weird, interesting, unique designs, And I just like the new planets they introduced in that one too. I like Bespin.
Yeah, no, the designs for everything on Bespin is fantastic.
Yeah, it looks like it definitely was going for like a very futuristic looking city.
Yeah.
Like out of like like you can kind of see the Flash Gordon influence there. Or Dagobah. I really like the look of Dagobah. Mm-hmm. Like it looks like an actual swamp. Like they were filming on a soundstage, but it looks like a swamp, which is impressive.
In a similar, I don't have an intro for this one.
It'd be a damn shame if someone tried to remake that movie.
Sometimes breathing life back into a dormant series can help elevate it beyond the original. Here are the nominees for Best Remake/Reboot. The Super Mario Bros. Movie from 2023, much like the anime before it, managed to accurately adapt the games while also telling a good story. After lying dormant for 30 years, Fury Road roared Mad Max back to life. Taking everything that made the Road Warrior a classic and cranking it up to 11, Fury Road remains one of the most impressive reboots ever made. Batman Begins made the wise decision. Yeah,
but I thought Fury Road was mediocre. Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good movie.
Batman Begins made the wise decision to make a Batman movie that was nothing like Batman Forever or Batman and Robin.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yay. True Lies. C'est le remake de La Totale a grandement bénéficié de l'inclusion de Arnold Schwarzenegger. And finally,
I don't know if any of that was...
I apologize if anyone speaks French.
Did you say that was True Lies?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That was True Lies, because it was okay, if anybody doesn't get the joke, it was a remake of a French movie.
Yeah, called La Totale. And finally, The Fugitive. It's pretty impressive that they managed to fit a 120 episode TV show into a 2 hour and 10-minute movie.
It definitely is, yeah. But hey, that's how good of an actor Harrison Ford is. Is that he can fit all 120 episodes into his performance.
And the winner is Batman Begins.
Yeah. The Batman franchise really needed a shot in the arm after how bad the previous two movies had been.
Yeah.
And Batman Begins definitely was the right call.
Yeah, it was a hard turn away from the sort of campiness and weirdness to more of like a grounded, almost kind of like sci-fi-ish take. Well, Batman Begins was almost entirely grounded. The later films did add more sci-fi elements, but it's a breath of fresh air after seeing Batman and Robin.
Batman Begins, I think feels more like a crime movie than a sci-fi movie. Same with, well, really, I think the first two Nolan films definitely feel more like crime movies than sci-fi movies, and everybody was well cast too. You know, Christian Bale was a good choice for Batman / Bruce Wayne.
Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, Liam Neeson was great. Michael Caine as Alfred. Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. He doesn't get that much to do in it, but Cillian Murphy did a really good job as the Scarecrow in that. Yeah. And it was just, you know, people were definitely yearning for another dark interpretation of Batman, and this was like the most serious attempt yet.
And unlike later attempts by a certain Mr. Snyder, it wasn't so dark that it was like boring or just like edgy. It managed to do it well.
They didn't treat the audience like they were idiots.
Yeah.
And it was a good origin story too. Like, we don't tend to get too many live action Batman origin stories, but I think that one did a good job.
Yeah.
With it. In fact, actually, that might have been the first Batman movie I ever saw. And I think it was definitely a good introduction.
Yeah.
To Batman. Like, I knew who Batman was, but like with that one, you know, you get the whole origin story and stuff, which is cool. I think it laid a good groundwork for the other two.
Yeah. It's definitely a shining example of how to make a great remake or reboot of a series.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're, you know, to the point where now, like most people think of Batman, they think of the Christopher Nolan Batman films. You know, 'cause before that, like the gold standard was what, like the first Keaton movie, probably.
Yeah.
Like that was, you know, or Adam West. Which I do love Adam West, but he's, you know, I'm glad that we have like serious interpretations of Batman as well.
Yeah.
Balance it out, you know. But yeah. I guess there was the animated series. Like, I guess some of the...
Yeah.
Like, what was the... Mask of the Phantasm? There's some people that think that's the best Batman movie, actually.
I haven't seen that one in a while, and I know we keep talking about maybe doing it, so...
Yeah, I was considering doing that, or... I think Under the Red Hood would be a interesting one to revisit. I haven't seen either of those in, like, a long time, so... But, like, Batman Begins, I think, is a pretty... I thought it was a pretty good Batman movie, you know, it was... The franchise, like, almost died.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, Batman and Robin was kind of a blessing because that movie was so bad.
It gave us the Nolan trilogy.
They kind of breathed new life into the series after that. So, you know, because of how bad the movie was.
At the same time, we lost out on Nick Cage as the Scarecrow.
Or Nick Cage as Superman.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of got that in the Flash movie, but... But hey, at least we have Madam Web. I'm trying to think of the right way to segue into this next one. Imagine if like somebody like did a remake that was worse than Batman and Robin. Speaking of which, when bringing back dormant franchises, sometimes dead is better. Here are the nominees for worst remake / reboot. Man of Steel. Man of Steel took what people loved about the Superman films and threw it onto the ground, leaving us with a rather depressing Superman. Also, it's safer indoors. 1989 Punisher wasn't great by any means, but this film was boring and bland. the 2004 Punisher. My apologies to Thomas Jane. Escape from LA is almost a complete remake of New York, except everything is done just a little bit worse. Escape from LA. Oh, and also there's like a surfing scene in there for no reason.
Yeah, we like the surfing scene a lot, don't we?
We reference that every time I think of that movie. That's the first thing I think of, is that stupid surfing scene. What were we talking about? We were talking about, oh right, we were reviewing Madam Web, that's right. Finally bringing back the dormant Alien franchise, this prequel ignores the atmosphere and quality writing that the original movie was known for, instead giving us dumb characters and a pretentious plot. Prometheus. And somehow it was directed by the same guy who did the first one. Okay. How did they fuck that one up? Considering that half this movie is just footage from the first, it should be no shock that Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is a bad reboot. And the winner is... Oh, really? We actually did go without Man of Steel.
Yes.
I mean, it is definitely the least enjoyable of these movies.
It's the least enjoyable. It's not a good interpretation of any of, like, the source material.
It is the worst structured of these movies.
Yes.
Well, besides maybe, okay, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, like...
Well, that one has other problems. Like, stealing from another movie.
Yeah, the horrendous acting and, like, dialogue and camera work and just everything about Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 is bad. But, like, with Man of Steel, it's also the fact that it's supposed to be, like, a reboot of Superman. There hadn't been a Superman movie in a while, and they decided, let's make him, like, angsty, I guess. Let's make him a genocidal lunatic in the last 30 minutes. And let's have everything be, like, gray and just not nice to
just
look at.
Boring and bland, and the color saturation is just terrible.
Let's have flashbacks at random points for no discernible reason.
Let's make all the characters unlikable, and Pa Kent suicidal for some reason by just killing himself in the tornado.
But yeah, Man of Steel, it's just bad. It's not only bad, it's just miserable to watch.
Yeah.
All the characters are just not interesting. Like, Russell Crowe looks so bored in that movie. The only actor who's kind of interesting to watch is Michael Shannon, because at least every once in a while he's overacting.
Yeah.
There's only one way this ends, Cal. Either you die or I do. Just really bad dialogue, too. Yeah. Like, just, it's not a good movie. It's really not a good movie. I know you're way harsher on it, because you not only hate it as a movie, but you hate it as an adaptation of Superman.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe you could have done a gritty version of Superman, but not like this.
If you make a gritty Superman movie, the one constant is that Superman has to be a beacon of hope.
He has to be optimistic.
You can't let Superman act the way he did in this movie. It's such a shock that Man of Steel never wound up on the Criterion Collection, is it?
Oh, you don't say.
Speaking of the Criterion Collection, shockingly, we've only covered 4 films in the highly esteemed Criterion Collection. But which one is the best? Here are the nominees for Best Movie in the Criterion Collection.
Which I'm gonna point out. At first I thought there were only 3. But then one of these got added at the last minute, so...
The story of a man blown to smithereens and resurrected as a robot might not seem like a movie worthy of such a list, but its themes of corporate greed and humanity keep the film timeless, which is RoboCop.
Yep, which I actually have that one on DVD. I got the Criterion DVD of that.
I think the only Criterion DVD I've got is Fire Walk with Me.
Fire Walk with Me, yeah. Your favorite David Lynch movie.
Exactly. Much like how it stole Deep Impact's premise and success, Armageddon stole its spot on the Criterion Collection.
Yeah, which I have that one. I have Armageddon on the Criterion DVD as well. And also The Rock is in the Criterion Collection as well.
The Rock is on the Criterion Collection, that's great.
I don't know if they'll put any more Michael Bay movies in the Criterion Collection. Oh man! Which other one would they do?
The Transformers movies.
Which one? Just a box set of all of them? I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. Like, just I'm trying to think. Like, what other one? Like, is Pain and Gain really worthy of being in the Criterion Collection? Or like, did people like The Island that much? I mean, anyway.
Blade Runner is a movie that feels perfect as a Criterion release. Visually stunning, a great soundtrack, and a fascinating plot help secure this movie's place among the best of the best.
I should point out, though, with Blade Runner and with this next one, these ones technically are out of print.
Yes.
Well, actually, all of them are out of print. But the first two, RoboCop and Armageddon are available. You can find like the Criterion DVD of those and the Laserdisc, but Blade Runner is only available under the Criterion Laserdisc collection, as same as the next one. Like those haven't been re-released, so like technically none of these are still under the Criterion label. Yeah. These are like all out of print.
Released under Criterion's Laserdisc collection, Halloween's dark atmosphere and faceless villain helped create the slasher genre. As such, its appearance among the Criterion collection is a no-brainer. And the winner is Blade Runner. Which, like, that one makes a lot of sense.
It makes the most sense out of these.
Yeah. I was honestly really surprised when I heard that Armageddon was in the Criterion collection.
Everybody is, but like the other three, not as much. Like, I mean, RoboCop's a little bit surprising that it's in the Criterion collection, but like, not as much as Armageddon for sure. Because like RoboCop, it's maybe not like the most widely regarded like sci-fi movie. It's a pretty well regarded sci-fi action movie at the very least. Like people at the very least put it in the same league as like stuff like Terminator, I would think. But whereas Halloween and Blade Runner, I think those two movies make the most sense here.
Yeah.
Those are widely regarded.
Just because of just the huge impact that they had.
Yeah, those are like game-changing movies for those respective genres. I think Blade Runner is the most game-changing of those two, which is why I think that one won. And also because of those, like, Blade Runner didn't surprise me when I found out it was a Criterion release. If anything, the only thing that surprises me is that it isn't still like like it hasn't gotten like a Blu-ray release under Criterion or something, Yeah. Because it's a well-made movie. It's very monumental among sci-fi films. It like. I mean, just the number of movies it's, like, influenced. Like, just, like, anytime somebody does, like, a dystopian...
Sort of, gritty, futuristic sort of film, it usually looks a bit like Blade Runner. And I mean, even movies that shouldn't be that look to Blade Runner and try to match it visually, like Mario, for example.
Yes. I don't know what was going on there. Or like the Matrix, like you kind of see some similar DNA with the Matrix,
Yeah,
some of the designs, And like also it was a movie that combined sci-fi and film noir, which is a really interesting, was a really interesting angle to go with, And it's got the special effects still hold up really well. The sound, the music's great. It's got these really weird, colorful characters running around in it,
The premise is fantastic.
Yeah. And hey, it gave Harrison Ford some more work besides just Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think. I guess we can move on to the next one if we... I'm surprised there aren't more spin-offs of Blade Runner, because there's so much you can do with the world.
I mean, they had like those 3 anime movies, but...
Yeah. And the sequel kind of feels like a spin-off, because, I mean, it does kind of follow some of the events from the first one, but
yeah,
it still feels like its own self-contained story.
Speaking of spin-offs.
Yes, that's where I was going with this. Sometimes the sideshow can be just as entertaining as the main event. Well, not really. Here are the nominees for Best Spin-Off. Taking viewers back to the original film for the first time in ever. Well, unless you read, like, a lot of books, I guess. Rogue One managed to be a grounded, yet loving callback to the originals. Is it good? No. But it is a spin-off. Supergirl. I can't believe Supergirl actually managed to sneak in a nomination.
Well, because we didn't do a whole lot of spin-off movies.
True, yes. Considering how different Halloween 3 is to the rest of the series, Halloween 3 could be considered a spin-off. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and you wrote doubtful next to that?
That was a note from earlier on. Because I didn't know whether we were going to consider that a spin-off or not.
Okay, well, I guess we did. So,
yeah.
Just barely, though. Because it kind of does feel like just its own weird, self-contained thing, so... Although there are some connections to Blade Runner, it's probably for the best that Soldier isn't a part of the larger canon. The original trilogy had some elements of westerns, so doing a full-on western spin-off film makes quite a bit of sense. Solo, a Star Wars story, just so you don't confuse it with the Mario Van Peebles movie. Alien vs. Predator took 2 of film's coolest monsters and had them fight. Need I say more? And the winner is Rogue One. I mean...
Again, we haven't done a whole lot of spin-offs.
Just this competition is laughable.
I mean, yeah, it's going up against Supergirl, Soldier,
Halloween 3. I mean, for fuck's sake. I will say this, though, if you do listen to our podcast on Rogue One, I didn't really like that movie the first few times I saw it. But that when I watched that Andor show, I ended up rewatching Rogue One, and I really gained a lot of appreciation for that movie, because it is really interesting seeing, like, a different perspective of the conflict than we usually get.
Yeah. Sort of very, like, ground level in the rebellion.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it kind of made me realize, maybe there is more room for, like, grittier takes on Star Wars. I do think Andor is a lot better than Rogue One.
Oh yeah, no, Andor is fantastic. If anything, just go watch Andor.
Yeah, just watch Andor. Yeah. But Rogue One's, it's. I do still think it's a flawed film, but I do like it a lot more now than when I first saw it. It's. You get more of the rebels versus the Empire thing. There's some good space battles in it as well.
Yeah.
And it was kind of interesting having them to have more morally gray characters than you usually get,
Especially, like, for example, Andor.
Yeah. Yeah. For example, Andor.
Oh yeah, it's also got Mads Mikkelsen in it. Mads
Mikkelsen
automatically a classic
as well. I think my favorite stuff in that movie though is the stuff with the Empire where they're like building the Death Star, and like you finally get to see
CGI Tarkin.
Yeah, you finally get to see in detail the power that the Death Star has to destroy a planet, Because, like, before, usually you would just see, like, an explosion, but here you, like, see the actual destruction of the planet, and it's pretty intense, too. And just I like the scenes of Krennic and, Tarkin and Vader, like, that hallway scene.
That hallway scene is still just amazing. I remember seeing that in the theater and everyone was like freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, like they almost turned Vader into like a slasher villain in that scene. He almost feels like Michael Myers during that scene. It's just crazy. And it kind of gives you more appreciation for all the troubles that the rebels had to go through to defeat the Empire in those movies, which is interesting. So, Although, again, I do think Andor did this better than Rogue One did.
Yes.
Like Rogue One it's good, but it's not Andor good.
Yeah.
But again, like the competition in this category was not very
not very strong.
No, definitely not. Like what would have been like the second choice? Like Solo, maybe?
Yeah, probably Solo, then AVP.
AVP, like there's really only like 3 maybe the correct choices for this category. Because like the rest of the competition ranges from mediocre to bad. I mean but anyway.
And I mean, some of these, like, Soldier could feel more like a ripoff than anything.
Yes, they did.
Speaking of ripoffs, in trying to copy what made a good movie successful, some films miss the mark so intensely that it's almost astounding. Here are the nominees for Worst Ripoff. Alien Origin. Someone thought the best way to copy Prometheus would be to take their camcorder into the jungle for 90 minutes while nothing happens. Alien Convergence. This movie's only real connection to Alien Covenant is that it tried to sound like the title. Army of Frankensteins. Sadly boring and nowhere near as insane as it sounds, Army of Frankensteins feels like a bad ripoff of other bad films.
Yeah, like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Okay.
Which is already not a good movie, but...
Turkish Star Wars. Star Wars took ripping off to the next level as it stole footage and music from the actual Star Wars, among other films.
Yeah, especially Indiana Jones.
Hercules and Xena, the animated movie. Ripping off a good animated Hercules while using an existing Hercules TV series sounds a lot better than it is. The weird songs don't help much. Armageddon. The fact that Armageddon was able to rip off and outperform Deep Impact is actually rather impressive.
Yeah, like they were literally like filming Deep Impact and then Armageddon was like Disney going, we could make a similar film, and yeah, that's what happened. Wow.
And finally, Quantum Quest, a Cassini space odyssey. I didn't even pay for this, and I want my money back.
What are you talking about? That one was a masterpiece.
And
It's
the winner...
It's the best Samuel L. Jackson movie. Anyway.
And the winner is... Alien Origin.
Yeah, obviously. Like, what
Oh,
else?
boy.
I almost wanted to give this category to Turkish Star Wars, though, just because it was a lot more shameless.
Yeah.
With, like, what it was ripping off of. But Alien Origin, like, I think just the sheer laziness of it makes it worse. Like,
it's a unique kind of awful.
It's like they weren't even trying. Not only were they not trying to make a movie, they weren't trying. They were barely even trying to make a ripoff. It's like they just saw.
There was a new Alien movie coming out, and so they had to throw something together with the word alien in the title.
Exactly, yeah. It's so bad. And they don't even do anything with that concept either.
Nothing at all.
It's so bad. Like, again, like you've said, it's just, they, like, went around in the woods for a while and, like, recorded B-roll and said, there you go.
The most interesting part of that movie was when they stopped at some Mayan ruins and the reporter talked about it for, like, a minute and a half. That was the most exciting part of the whole film because there was actual content there.
I am, like, 99% certain that they did not have a script when they made that thing.
Didn't they run into some Amish people at some point
Mennonites.
in that movie?
They ran into some Mennonites.
Mennonites, yeah.
Which is like diet Amish. But yeah, it's just, what the fuck? Like, of all the movies we watched on the podcast, like, we'll be talking about this one a little bit more later, but, like, I don't think I regretted watching a movie on this podcast more than I regretted watching that one.
It was so uniquely terrible. But again, we'll talk about this one more later.
But it's just, like, they didn't even try to be like Prometheus either. If you're gonna rip something off, like, what's... You could have just as easily said, this was, like, inspired by ancient aliens or something.
Yeah, that would have been at least more accurate than trying to say it's like Prometheus.
But yeah, just, what a bad movie. But, you know, there are... Like, really, the best thing you can be as a bad movie is to at least be funny, and that one wasn't even funny.
It was just boring.
Well, thankfully, not all the bad movies we watched on this podcast were boring, bad. Yeah. Some were funny bad. Usually bad movies are boring or painful, but these ones were unintentionally hilarious, baffling, or a mixture of both. Either way, they were fascinating to watch. Here are the nominees for Best Bad Movie. Shyamalan's Best Comedy? The Happening. A very unconvincing portrayal of a man succumbing to his own insanity during the holidays. I think I meant to say convincing, because, I mean, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, I mean, how can you get more convincing than that movie? The live-action version of The Simpsons' McBain, the 1989 Punisher. A martial arts film that somehow wasn't flagged for copyright, Turkish Star Wars. Hey, the Turkish ripoff be with you. The only video game movie that can be accurately described as Dinosaur Blade Runner. Super Mario Brothers, the live-action movie. A Taken ripoff, where the climax turns into Home Stallone. Rambo, Last Blood. And the only movie better than Morbius, Quantum Quest, a Cassini Space Odyssey. And the winner is... What? No! The Happening.
This is one of those where it's just like, what can you say about The Happening? Like, every decision made was wrong, but it makes the movie so much funnier as a result.
I think what sets The Happening apart from these other movies is with most of these other movies, you can see what they were trying to do. But with The Happening, I literally just don't know what they were
because you get the feeling that this was exactly the vision, and it makes no sense.
Somewhere in Shyamalan's weird brain, this movie makes sense, but to everyone else, it's just this weird fever dream. And it shouldn't be either, because, like, the characters are... You got Marky Mark, who's supposed to be just, like, the everyman, like, just this science teacher, but he acts like a weirdo. The plot is that, like...
the plants are causing mass suicide.
And that they have to, like, outrun the wind at one point, because, like, the like toxins are like spreading around or something. So we get this super intense scene where they're running from the wind. The deaths in this movie are so stupid, and they shouldn't be funny.
Kill.
Yeah, the guy lays in front of a lawnmower and just kills himself. The part where the guy's like they see a video of a guy in a zoo and, like, lions are, like, tearing him apart. But it's shot in a weird way, because it looks like he's, like, offering his arms to the lion, like, goading him on, which doesn't make any sense. Like, the weird old lady that they meet that, like...
planning on stealing something. Planning on murdering me in my sleep.
It's just like she doesn't want them to stay there, but she lets them stay anyways.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And the execution of this movie too, like the way it's shot and directed, it feels like a sitcom.
Remember how they found, like, these two teenagers that get just shot like 2 minutes later?
Yeah, what was the point of the... Oh my god, yeah, the plot is literally just random scenes strung together. Like, it's just stuff happens, and then the end of the movie is just it stops happening, and then it happens all over again.
It's so just bafflingly bad.
And that's not even mentioning how just inane the dialogue is. Like, just... It makes you kill yourself. Just when you thought there couldn't be any more evil that could be invented.
You know, hot dogs get a bad rap.
The hot dog stuff. Just what? Again, it, like, feels like Shyamalan was trying to do, like a parody of himself. Like, he tried to claim he was making a B movie later, but, like, it really doesn't. It feels like a Shyamalan movie, but just weirder and, like, just... It's just so bizarre. I don't even know what... It's hard to describe, too, though, but just everything about the tone...
It's something that you really just have to sort of experience for yourself.
Because, again, just, like, with some of these other ones, like... It's far more obvious to point out, like, what went wrong with it. Like, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, anybody should look at Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 and realize that it's a bad movie. Like, and can easily describe why it's a bad movie. Same with, like, Turkish Star Wars. Like, that one's just, it's kind of just self-evident why it's a bad movie. Whereas with The Happening, it's just like, what is wrong with this movie? Like, it's just
like
almost
you
like
can't
you
point
entered.
to one thing that would really fix the movie all that
It
much.
almost feels like you found a movie from like a parallel dimension where just, or again, like it feels like a dream or something where just like it
Yeah.
kind of looks right and it, like
There's just something off
there's
about it.
something slightly off about it. Yeah, it's just.
Like, it almost feels like we're looking at an inside joke that we weren't supposed to see.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, yeah. But it was so funny that like I was thinking if we were gonna redo our top 10 best lists, I was considering putting this in like the honorable mentions just because of how hilarious I found the experience of watching it. Because it's a great movie to just have on, like, where you invite some people over just to, like, riff it, like, Mr. Science Theater style. Like, it'd be perfect for it. I don't know if there's a riff tracks in this movie, but this would be
There
perfect.
has to be. It's the perfect one for it.
This would be perfect cannon fodder for them, I think. But yeah, I almost wish we hadn't put Quantum Quest in this category, because I think that movie's a masterpiece, personally, but... Anyway, it's almost as it's like again, like I said, it's the only movie better than Morbius, so it's got to count for something. But yeah, again, it was hard to pick one, but I think we made the right call. The Happening was just it was just not only hilarious, it was the most baffling of these movies. I think just. It's like, oh, you got like a puzzle, but a couple of the pieces are missing. What am I like? What?
Speaking of puzzles, where you've got a piece missing, that's quite a letdown.
Yeah, it would be.
Speaking of letdowns,
if I did puzzles anyway, but yeah.
Some films have massive potential that they just can't live up to. Here are the nominees for Biggest Letdown. Written by George Lucas and directed by Ron Howard, this film had the potential to be the equivalent of fantasy Star Wars. Sadly, Willow ends up as a bit boring with one of the worst love plots of all time. Attempting to bridge the gap between Prometheus and the wider Alien franchise, Alien Covenant fails to impress, scare, or even entertain. Despite a strong first half, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull completely loses steam once interdimensional beings come into the mix. Bad dialogue, a nonsensical plot, and a complete disregard for the films before it make The Rise of Skywalker one of the most disappointing endings to any franchise.
They fly now.
After a rather fun and hectic first movie, Crank, High Voltage, descends into immature madness, more reminiscent of a bad Postal adaptation. And finally, rejecting its interesting fantasy setting for the backdrop of a high school drama, Masters of the Universe fails to capture what made He-Man so interesting. And the winner is... Alien Covenant. It's such a disappointing film.
Really, this was between two movies for me. This is between... The competition mainly came down to two movies here. Rise of Skywalker, which was a letdown. But with that one, I kind of knew what I was getting before I saw it. Whereas with Alien Covenant, I had never seen this movie, at least not in full. And I thought there was actually a chance to make up for Prometheus, to, like, course correct, but no, they didn't.
No. It felt just as pretentious as the first one, but was somehow just even worse.
Plot was a mess. Like, they like really ruined like the mysteriousness of the xenomorphs in that one, where they're just like, oh yeah, they were like created by a robot in a lab experiment. Like, just, oh my god, like, I'm surprised there wasn't more outrage at that. Like, you know, because like people were mad about like the midichlorians and stuff, but like I think that's even worse. Actually, it's just like, oh, like. And it was just so generic too. Like,
Yeah.
it had just the bare bones of like an alien movie, and it still screwed
It felt
up.
more like a plot outline than anything else, because there really were just no characters in the film. It was all just meat to be killed by the alien.
The only characters I remember like Danny McBride is in it. But I don't really remember what he does. Michael Fassbender plays two androids in it, one that's good and one that's evil. Or were they both evil?
No, one was good, one was evil.
That's the thing. I just barely remember anything about this movie. Like, at least with these other movies, I'm gonna remember things about them. But with Alien Covenant, I just remember almost nothing about it. It was such a nothing of a movie for me. And it wasn't even fun to like it wasn't even fun to talk about. Like, if you listen to that podcast, I sound so irritated while we're talking about that one.
Yeah. No, it's...
The only fun I got out of it was, like, that weird John Denver, like, conspiracy theory I came up with. That was, like, it, as far as the entertainment I got from that. And it was the fact that Ridley Scott was directing it.
Again, yeah. Just like Prometheus, and he screwed it up a second time.
Yeah, like, just, oh my god, like... Again, people say the same with, like, George Lucas and the prequels, so,
Yeah.
At least George Lucas was able to stick the landing, though. Like, Revenge of the Sith was decent, but, like, with this, like, now, Ridley Scott fucked it up. Like, you can't really go back on that, I guess. Although I guess they are doing another one, but it's...
Yeah, and it's gonna be the guy that did the Evil Dead remake and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in seeing it.
Doesn't that come out this year?
I don't know. Like, that movie just made me give up on, like, the Alien franchise, really. Like, I just was done.
Yeah, it's coming out in August.
Like, there's, like, some other series that I'm like, okay, I could see them maybe rebounding, but, like, there's some that I'm so fucking done. Like, Terminator, I'm the same way with Terminator. I am so done with Terminator. I didn't even see Dark Fate. Like...
I heard Dark Fate was, like, the actual just worst.
Everything I've heard about it, it just did not sound good. And it's... And then, this movie just, I'm done with, like, the Alien series now. I'm like, I don't know what they'd be able to do to bring me back. Like,
yeah.
So the other thing was Alien Covenant, like, the reviews for Alien Covenant weren't even, like, they weren't even that bad. Like, they weren't, like, great, but they weren't, like, skated. And I did not like Alien Covenant at all. It was just, gosh. I'm sure there'll be some people who, like, see that we chose this for this guy. But again, this was biggest letdown, Like, this wasn't necessarily the worst movie of this category. It was like, which one?
It was just something that we had a bit more of an expectation for that just fell through.
Because again, with Rise of Skywalker, like, it's definitely a worse movie than Alien Covenant. Like, it definitely is. But, like, I knew it was gonna suck before I saw it. So
yeah.
Like, the minute I knew, oh yeah, Palpatine just is alive somehow, I was like, yeah, they shit the bed.
Yeah.
There's no saving this sinking boat. But yeah, whereas I guess with Alien Covenant, I didn't read any, I guess I just didn't see any warning signs with it, but anyway. And it was just boring. It just was so boring.
Yeah.
Like, I could have maybe forgiven it if it was, like, funny bad or, like, eccentric or something. But
or, like, if they made it, like, a little weird, it might have helped.
It was just... there's just nothing interesting or remarkable about it. It's just, again, it's just a nothing of a movie. Unlike what's coming up next, which is... Some films are just strange Here are the nominees for Weirdest Film. It's hard to know what the weirdest part of this film is. Its cast, its animation, or the fact that it was produced by NASA. Quantum Quest, a Cassini Space Odyssey. I feel like whoever listens to this is going to go, what in the hell is Quantum Quest?
And then they're in for a very rude awakening once they look it up.
I want to tell as many people as possible about that movie. It's like... A murder mystery focused on a schizophrenic homeless man playing detective is strange enough. Throw in a Seraph opera and a master villain who may not exist, and The Caveman's Valentine is without a doubt one of the strangest films we've seen. I feel like Quantum Quest and Caveman's Valentine need cult followings.
Yes. I need to see The Caveman's Valentine too.
Like, if you like just hilariously weird, like, mystery or noir films, go watch The Caveman's Valentine. And if you want, like, a bad, like, animated sci-fi movie with the most insane cast of all time, go watch Quantum Quest. Twisting the colorful and upbeat world of Super Mario Bros. Into a dino cyberpunk hellscape was certainly a strange choice, made even stranger by the inclusion of de-evolution and tyrannical politics. The live-action Mario movie. This ain't no game indeed. An otherwise over-the-top, but fairly standard cartoon is made much stranger by the inclusion of several musical PSAs about drugs, gambling, and exercise. Russian Treasure Island. That's another one that, like, if you haven't heard of this weird thing, go watch it right now.
Yeah.
Just, if you like weird, animated...
Just a very unique experience,
that
one.
Very weird, animated Soviet movie. Like, just... It's an adaptation of Treasure Island. It's something, that's for sure. An otherwise forgettable Turkish kung fu film is made into an absolutely strange masterpiece by using copyrighted footage and music from other, much better films. Turkish Star Wars. What are you talking about? That's one of Junet Arkin's best performances. I should point out he wrote these descriptions, not me. Well, I wrote some of them, but this one I'm reading off right now is one he wrote. Weird by design, Everything Everywhere All at Once offers a unique look into the multiverse. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is a strange one-off film that's about techno wizards killing children. Also, there's no Michael Myers. Except for, like, a trailer.
Like, yeah, 5 seconds of a trailer of the first movie.
What the hell? And the winner is Turkish Star Wars. Because,
it's such a jarring experience, because all of a sudden, like, you're watching a Turkish kung fu movie, and all of a sudden it just cuts to Star Wars.
And just the schizophrenic editing of that thing, and, like,
Yeah.
It's impossible to summarize the plot of it, because, like, I was watching it, and I had no idea what was happening.
And we mentioned this earlier with the best sound editing. Every time there's, like, a punch or a hit, the soundtrack pauses, and it just gets so disorienting while you're watching it.
It's just all the strange costumes and stuff, like, it's like this... I don't even know what this thing was trying to be. Was it trying to be a martial arts movie, a superhero movie, a sci-fi movie? Like, it's just all over the place. Like, and it's one that you really do just need to see it to know what we're talking about. Because, like, describing it doesn't do it justice. That was one of the hardest podcasts to do, because it felt like we were trying to recap what was going on in it while not understanding what was going on in it.
Like, you get a bit of a headache trying to follow that movie.
Like, I had trouble following Everything Everywhere All at Once, but with that, I could, like...
At least get the important bits of information
I could detect a story and, like, character arcs and stuff. Yeah. It was more just all the weird multiverse logic I kind of got lost in. But with Turkish Star Wars, there's no logic of any kind. Shots don't flow together, scenes don't flow together. I don't know what the plot to this thing was, aside from, oh, he's, like, trying to stop a guy in a, like, Emperor Ming cosplay. Like, what? Just...
all these people wearing red blankets walking around, a bunch of robots killing children.
Fact, it's called, most people call it Turkish Star Wars because it steals footage from the Star Wars, the original Star Wars film. But most of the music is Indiana Jones playing on a loop. It's just, what is this?
It's the same song from Indiana Jones as well. It's the main theme. It just turns on sometimes.
Just nothing about the movie makes any sense, and it's so hard to describe. You really just have to, you need to listen to our podcast, and even... Well, no, you don't need to listen to our podcast. You need to watch the movie.
The whole thing's on YouTube.
Because, like, I just don't know how to describe it. Although, if you have, like, epilepsy or something, you might not want to watch it. Because the editing is, like, just... The editing and the sound is just painful. Like, it's just... But it's so crazy. It's also the fact it's so fast-paced, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, it's just every scene, it just happens so fast, and you're just given no time to process anything that's going on. Like, just...
It's so baffling and just so hard to talk about.
It might also be just the fact that it's a foreign film, so, like, there's obviously a language barrier, but, like, I don't know. Even if you're from Turkey, I don't know if you could follow that movie. It's Jesus Christ. And at the same time, it's this weird mishmash of, like, big budget American films, but also, like, just low budget Turkish production values. Like, I just don't even know what else to say about that one. But I will say this, it's certainly creative. It's not generic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Good night, you stupid idiot. Good night, you miserable slob.